begin. The sharp click of heels against the pavement jolted me awake. My heart raced as I glanced at the clock. 6:17 a.m. My chest tightened instantly. Amanda had been gone for nearly 12 hours, and now she was finally home. Last night, she'd walked out dressed in that sleek black dress and those crimson heels she adored, barely sparing me a glance before slamming the door behind her. "I just need a night out," she'd said, her voice laced with irritation. "You're overthinking this. It's just a few girls catching up." Her words stung more than I let on, but I held my ground. We needed time together, not apart. Things had been strained between us for weeks, and Jessica, the queen of bad decisions, didn't seem like the solution. But Amanda dismissed my concerns, brushed past me, and left without another word. Now, as I stood by the window watching her stumble up the driveway, I barely recognized the woman approaching the house. The Amanda I kissed goodbye last night was poised and confident, glowing even. This version of her looked broken, her dress wrinkled, makeup smeared into dark smudges around her bloodshot eyes, her once perfect hair hanging limply over her shoulders. She carried her heels in one hand and her phone in the other, staring at the ground as if it held all the answers to life's problems. I opened the door just as she reached it. "Morning," she muttered, her voice hoarse and dry. "Morning," I replied, my tone icy. "Where were you?" "Jessica's," she answered quickly, almost too quickly. "Jessica's, huh?" I crossed my arms, blocking her path. "You were there all night?" "Yes," she snapped, finally meeting my gaze. Her hands trembled slightly. "Can I come in, or are you going to interrogate me on the porch?" I stepped aside without a word, watching as she stumbled into the living room and collapsed onto the couch like a marionette with its strings cut. She buried her face in her hands, and the silence that followed was suffocating. Something wasn't right. Something was very, very wrong. Sitting across from Amanda, I couldn't shake the gnawing suspicion clawing at my gut. Her disheveled appearance and evasive demeanor screamed that something was off. "You look like hell," I said, breaking the silence. It wasn't an insult. It was an observation. She flinched but didn't respond. "Amanda," I continued, my voice firm. "What happened last night? Why didn't you answer your phone?" "It died," she mumbled, her voice muffled by her hands. "Convenient," I muttered under my breath. She shot me a glare, though it lacked its usual fire. "I don't want to do this right now," she said wearily. "I'm tired, Mike. Can we talk later?" "Sure," I replied, pushing off the wall. "We can talk later. But just so you know, I'm not stupid. If something happened last night, if you did something, you better tell me now." Her head snapped up, and for a brief moment, I thought she might confess. Instead, her face hardened. "There's nothing to tell." "Fine," I said, my voice calm but icy. "Go get some sleep. We'll talk later." As she swayed upstairs, I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram. If Amanda was telling the truth about being at Jessica's, there had to be evidence online. Sure enough, Jessica's stories from last night painted a picture, but Amanda wasn't in any of them. Then I found it. A blurry video showing Amanda standing close to a man I didn't recognize. Her body language spoke volumes, leaning toward him, brushing his arm briefly. The clip ended before I could analyze further, but it was enough to ignite a firestorm of doubt. Who was he? And why had she lied? I decided to call Jessica. Though we weren't close, I had her number for emergencies. When she picked up, her groggy voice only added to my unease. "Hey, Jessica," I said casually. "I just wanted to check in about last night. Amanda said she was at your place. Did everything go okay?" There was a pause. "Yeah, she was here," Jessica replied, but her voice wavered. "Why? Did something happen?" "She came home looking rough," I said carefully. "She's been acting strange since she walked in the door." "Did you notice anything unusual?" Another pause stretched longer than the first. "No," Jessica finally said, though it sounded forced. "Maybe she drank too much. You know how she gets sometimes." I didn't believe her for a second. "Right? Well, thanks. Let me know if anything comes to mind." "Sure thing," she replied, but her hesitation confirmed what I already suspected. She was hiding something. Hanging up, frustration boiled inside me. Jessica was lying, and Amanda's secrets were unraveling faster than I could process. But one thing was clear. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to wait around for them. The kitchen counter felt cold beneath my palms as I stared at Amanda's phone, its screen glowing innocently. I hated myself for even considering this, but desperation clawed at me. If there was something on her phone that could explain her behavior, I needed to see it. My fingers hovered over the screen, trembling slightly. Did I really want to go through with this? Yes. I entered the passcode, unchanged for years, and the phone unlocked. The first thing I checked was her text messages. Most threads were harmless exchanges with friends and family, but then I saw it, a conversation with someone named Eric. My stomach churned as I scrolled through their brief, but damning exchange. Eric, can't wait to see you tonight. You look amazing in that dress, he'd written. Amanda's reply was coy, almost playful. Stop. You'll make me blush. Another message read, meet me outside around 11. We'll have more fun away from the crowd. Amanda's response sealed it. Sounds perfect. Don't be late. Each word felt like a punch to the gut. She hadn't just gone to Jessica's party. She'd planned to meet this man, this stranger, and sneak off with him. My grip tightened around the phone as anger surged through me. Confronting her now would only lead to denial or excuses. I needed a strategy, a way to make sure she couldn't twist the truth. If Amanda wanted to play games, I was going to beat her at her own. I spent the next hour trying to act normal, cleaning the kitchen and pouring myself coffee while my mind raced. Amanda stayed upstairs, and when she finally emerged around noon, her appearance was slightly improved. Her hair was tied back, and she'd washed the smudged makeup from her face, but the exhaustion still lingered in her features. Morning, she mumbled, grabbing a mug from the cabinet. Afternoon, I replied, watching her closely. She avoided my gaze, busying herself with pouring coffee. The silence between us was unbearable. Finally, I broke it. Feel like telling me what happened last night? My tone was casual, but the weight behind the words was clear. She froze for a split second before forcing a laugh. What do you mean? I told you I was at Jessica's. And Eric? I dropped the name like a grenade. Her head snapped toward me, shock and panic flashing across her face. What were you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about, Amanda. Who is Eric? And why were you meeting him at a party you swore was just a girls' night? Her lips parted as if to speak, but no words came out. For the first time in years, she looked truly cornered. I saw the texts. I continued, my voice firm. Don't even think about lying to me right now. Amanda's face turned pale. She placed the coffee mug on the counter with a trembling hand and finally met my eyes. Mike, I can explain. I'm listening, I said, though my patience was hanging by a thread. What she said next would change everything. Amanda took a deep breath, her hands gripping the edge of the counter as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. Eric is just a friend, she began, her voice shaky. He's someone I know from work. Last night, he happened to be at the party, and we just stopped to talk. I interrupted her, holding up a hand. Don't insult me with that, just a friend line. Friends don't make plans to sneak off together in the middle of the night. Try again. She flinched, her face twisting in frustration. It wasn't like that, Mike. We were just talking. I needed someone to vent to. Things between us have been so tense lately, and you're always what? I snapped, my voice rising. Working to pay the bills? Trying to keep this marriage together while you run around with strangers behind my back. I didn't do anything, she yelled, slamming her hand on the counter. God, why are you being so paranoid? You're acting like I slept with him, or something. Her words hit me like a slap, and for a moment, the room was completely silent. Her eyes widened, realizing too late the implication of what she just said. So you didn't sleep with him? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. But you thought about it, didn't you? She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her hesitation said more than words ever could. I felt my chest tighten, a mix of anger and heartbreak surging through me. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was betrayal, plain and simple. I can't believe this, I muttered, running a hand through my hair. 6 years, Amanda. 6 years, and this is how you repay me? It wasn't like that, she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. I swear, Mike, it didn't mean anything. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking. Save it, I said, cutting her off. I'm not interested in excuses. If it didn't mean anything, then why hide it? Why lie to my face? She looked down, unable to answer. Her silence spoke volumes. I stood there, staring at her, waiting for some kind of explanation, some shred of honesty. But it never came. Instead, she just stood there, tears streaming down her face, looking more like a stranger than the woman I thought I knew. "I need some air," I said finally, turning toward the door. "Mike, please," she called after me, her voice breaking. "Don't do this. Don't walk away." But I didn't stop. I stepped outside, letting the cool air hit my face. My mind was spinning, every memory of our relationship now tainted by the thought of her betrayal. I had to figure out what to do next, but one thing was clear. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Walking aimlessly, my thoughts tangled in a web of betrayal and confusion. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Amanda's story. The text messages and her defensive behavior hinted at deeper secrets. Determined to uncover the truth, I revisited her phone, scrolling through the conversation with Eric once more. A new message caught my eye, sent hours after she returned home. "Wish we had more time together." The implications were undeniable. I stormed back into the living room, holding up the phone. "Explain this," I demanded, my voice shaking. Her face went pale, and for a moment, she looked like she might faint. "Mike, she started, but I cut her off. "Save it. I'm done listening to your lies. If you want to fix this, start telling me the truth. All of it. Because right now, Amanda, you're losing me." The weight of my words hung in the air, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Whether it was fear of losing me or fear of exposure for whatever else she was hiding, I couldn't tell. One thing was certain. I wasn't stopping until I knew everything. Amanda sat frozen on the couch, her eyes locked on the phone in my hand. Her lips quivered as if she wanted to say something, but no words came out. The silence was deafening, each second stretching like an eternity. "I'm waiting," I said, my tone sharp. "Tell me the truth, Amanda. All of it. Or do I have to call Eric myself?" Her head snapped up, panic flashing across her face. "No, don't. Don't call him, Mike, please," she pleaded. "Then start talking," I demanded, because that message doesn't exactly scream, it was just a mistake. She buried her face in her hands, her body trembling as sobs racked her frame. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her, but the memory of that text and her lies quickly snuffed out any sympathy. This was her mess, and I wasn't about to let her dodge accountability. "I didn't plan for this to happen," she choked out finally, her voice muffled. "I swear, Mike, I wasn't looking for anything but Eric. He kept pushing. He said all the right things, made me feel like I wasn't invisible anymore. And last night—" "Stop blaming me for your choices," I interrupted, my anger flaring again. "You felt invisible? You think that justifies sneaking around with another man?" "I'm not blaming you," she shouted, looking up at me with tear-streaked cheeks. "I'm blaming myself. I know I screwed up, okay? I know I betrayed you, but it wasn't supposed to go this far." "Define this far," I said coldly. "What exactly happened after you kissed him? Did you go somewhere else together? Did you sleep with him?" Her shoulders sagged, and she let out a shaky breath. "No, we didn't sleep together. I swear. We kissed, and he wanted more, but I couldn't do it. I told him it was wrong, and I left. That's the truth, Mike." I studied her face, searching for any sign of deceit. She looked sincere, but then again, she'd been lying to me for weeks. Trusting her now felt impossible. "And the text?" I asked, holding up her phone again. "What about that? If it was such a big mistake, why is he saying it was unforgettable? Why didn't you block him the moment you came home?" She bit her lip, hesitating. "I don't know," she admitted quietly. "Maybe he thought it meant more than it did." I didn't respond. Her explanation sounded weak, but I had no concrete proof to refute it. My chest tightened as the weight of the situation sank in. Whether or not she was telling the full truth, the fact remained. She had crossed the line, and our marriage would never be the same. "I can't do this right now," I said, turning away from her. "I need some time to think." "Mike, please," she begged, her voice breaking. "Don't walk away. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. I'll cut him off. I'll go to counseling. Anything. Just don't give up on us." I didn't respond. Instead, I grabbed my jacket and keys and walked out the door, leaving her sobbing on the couch. I needed space, clarity, and above all, a plan. If Amanda wanted to fight for our marriage, she'd have to prove she deserved that chance. And I wasn't going to make it easy for her. As I drove aimlessly around town, my phone buzzed with a new notification. It was a message from Jessica. "Hey Mike, can we talk? I think you should know something about last night." My heart pounded as I pulled over. Whatever Jessica had to say, I had a feeling it would either confirm Amanda's story or completely unravel it. Reluctantly, I agreed to meet her at a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town. When I arrived, Jessica was already seated in the corner, nervously stirring a cup of tea. She looked up as I approached, guilt written all over her face. "Thanks for coming," she said softly, motioning for me to sit. "Just tell me what's going on," I said, my voice flat, devoid of patience for small talk. Jessica winced but nodded. "Okay, look, I wasn't going to get involved, but after last night I feel like I have to." She hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Eric wasn't supposed to be at the party. I didn't invite him. Amanda did." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. "What are you saying?" I asked, my voice low and dangerous. "She told me not to say anything," Jessica continued, her hands trembling around her cup. "She said you wouldn't understand. But, Mike, she planned to meet him there. They weren't just talking. They were all over each other at one point. They went outside together for almost an hour. I don't know what happened, but when they came back, things were tense. My chest tightened, and I struggled to keep my composure. Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" "I didn't want to get in the middle of it," Jessica admitted. "But when I saw how upset you were this morning, I couldn't stay silent. You deserve to know the truth." I sat back, my mind reeling. Amanda had lied to my face again and again. The kiss she'd admitted to was just the tip of the iceberg. Whatever happened outside with Eric was the real story, and I intended to find out. "Thank you," I said finally, standing up. "I appreciate you telling me this." Jessica reached out, as if to stop me. "Mike, please don't do anything rash. Amanda messed up, but I think she's genuinely sorry. Maybe you two can work through this." I didn't answer. The anger boiling inside me was too strong to trust myself with words. Instead, I walked out of the coffee shop, my jaw clenched and my mind set on one thing: confronting Amanda. When I got home, Amanda was sitting at the kitchen table, her head buried in her hands. She looked up as I entered, her eyes red and swollen. "Mike," she started, but I cut her off. "Save it," I said sharply. I talked to Jessica. Her face paled, and she visibly recoiled. What? What did she say?" "She told me you invited Eric to the party. She told me you were all over him, and that the two of you disappeared outside for an hour." "Care to explain that?" Amanda's lip trembled, and for a moment, I thought she might try to deny it. But then her shoulders sagged, and she let out a shaky breath. "It's true," she admitted quietly. "I invited him. I don't know what I thought. I just wanted to feel something again. And what happened outside?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Don't you dare lie to me, Amanda." Tears streamed down her face as she whispered. "We kissed again. You wanted more, but I stopped him. I swear, Mike, that's all that happened. Do you really expect me to believe that?" I snapped. "After all the lies, after everything I found out, why should I trust you now?" She broke into sobs, collapsing into the chair. "Because I'm telling the truth this time. I know I've made mistakes, but I didn't sleep with him. I couldn't do that to you." Her words hung in the air, but they brought me no comfort. The damage was done. Whether or not she had slept with Eric didn't change the fact that she had betrayed me, lied to me, and shattered the trust we'd spent years building. "I need space," I said finally, my voice cold. "Don't follow me. Don't call me. Just leave me alone." Without waiting for a response, I walked out the door, leaving Amanda sobbing at the table. I didn't know what my next move would be, but one thing was certain: things could never go back to the way they were. Driving aimlessly for hours, my mind spun with everything Jessica and Amanda had revealed. The betrayal was one thing, but the layers upon layers of deceit cut the deepest. How could someone I trusted so completely do this to me? By the time I parked the car, the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the neighborhood. I wasn't ready to go home. Not yet. Instead, I walked into a small diner, ordered a coffee, and sat in a booth by the window, staring out at nothing in particular. That's when an idea began to form, a way to make Amanda truly understand what she had done without stooping to her level. By the time I got home, it was late. The house was dark, but I knew Amanda was still awake. I could hear faint movement upstairs as I stepped inside. For a moment, I considered going straight to bed, avoiding her entirely. But no, this needed to be handled now. She was sitting on the edge of the bed when I walked in, her face pale and tear-streaked. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a mix of guilt and desperation. "I thought you weren't coming back," she said softly. "I almost didn't," I replied, keeping my tone even. "But I've been thinking about us, about everything." Her face lit up with a flicker of hope, but I wasn't done. "I've decided I'm not going to scream or fight or do anything to hurt you, Amanda. That's not who I am. But I also can't pretend like everything is fine. You've made your choices, and now I'm going to make mine." "What does that mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. "It means that for the foreseeable future, I'm stepping back," I said firmly. "You want to fix this? Fine. Prove it. You'll go to counseling. You'll cut Eric out of your life completely. And you'll be the one to rebuild the trust you destroyed. But don't expect me to be the one chasing you." Her face crumpled, and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "Mike, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll go to counseling. I'll delete his number. I'll do anything to make this right. We'll see," I said coldly. Actions speak louder than words. The next morning, while Amanda was still asleep, I began putting my plan into motion. I wasn't looking for revenge in the traditional sense. No shouting matches, no dramatic confrontations. But I wanted her to feel the weight of her decisions, to see what it felt like to live in the shadow of doubt and betrayal. First, I called Jessica and thanked her for being honest with me. Then, I reached out to Eric. I didn't want to confront him. I wanted him to know I was aware of everything. A simple, measured message was all it took. "Eric, this is Mike. I know what happened. Stay out of my wife's life. Consider this your one warning." His response was predictable: silence. Men like him always folded when confronted with accountability. Next, I set up a meeting with a marriage counselor. Not for Amanda and me, but for myself. If she wanted to join later, that would be her decision. But I wasn't going to wait around for her to decide whether I was worth the effort. My focus now was on healing, whether that meant repairing the marriage or walking away from it entirely. When Amanda woke up and came downstairs, she looked at me like she was waiting for another fight. But I stayed calm, collected. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, sliding a piece of paper across the table toward her. It was a printout of the counseling appointment I'd scheduled. "You'll go to this, with or without me. If you skip it, we're done." She nodded, her hands shaking as she clutched the paper. "I'll go. I promise." "Good," I said, standing up. "Because right now, Amanda, I don't trust you. And if you want this marriage to survive, you need to earn that trust back." Her tears started again, but I didn't stick around to comfort her. Instead, I grabbed my keys and left, leaving her alone to sit with the consequences of her actions. For the first time since all this began, I felt a sense of clarity. I wasn't going to let her lies define me. Whether or not we stayed together, I knew one thing: I deserved better. And now, it was up to Amanda to prove she was willing to be that better person. In the days that followed, the house felt like a ghost of its former self. Every creak of the floorboards echoed louder than before. Every shadow seemed heavier. Amanda and I existed in parallel worlds, sharing the same space but separated by an unspoken chasm. I threw myself into work, burying my emotions under deadlines and meetings. Each day, I reminded myself that healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about finding a way to move forward without carrying the weight of betrayal on my shoulders. Counseling became my anchor, a safe space where I could unpack the wreckage of our marriage and begin to understand what had gone so horribly wrong. For Amanda, the journey was different. She attended every session, her face etched with a mix of determination and despair. At first, she tried to justify her actions, painting herself as a victim of circumstance. But as the weeks passed, something shifted. She began to take responsibility, not just for the affair, but for the cracks in our relationship that had allowed it to happen. "I didn't realize how lonely I felt," she admitted during one particularly raw session. "Not because you weren't there, but because we stopped seeing each other. I thought I could fill that void with someone else, but all I did was create more emptiness. Her words stung, but they also opened a door, one I wasn't sure I wanted to walk through. Could forgiveness ever outweigh the pain she caused? Could trust, once shattered, ever be rebuilt? These questions haunted me, but I refused to let them consume me. Instead, I focused on myself, rediscovering passions I'd neglected and reconnecting with friends I'd drifted from. Slowly, I began to see glimmers of who I was before Amanda's betrayal, and who I could become after it. One evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sunset, Amanda joined me. She didn't say anything at first, just sat quietly, her presence tentative but steady. "Do you remember when we used to watch the stars together?" she asked softly. I nodded, though I didn't trust myself to speak. "I miss that," she continued. "I miss us." Her vulnerability caught me off guard, but I didn't respond. Instead, I let the silence stretch between us, heavy with unspoken truths. In that moment, I realized something important. Forgiveness wasn't a destination. It was a choice, one I wasn't ready to make yet. But perhaps, someday, I might find the strength to consider it. Until then, I would keep moving forward one step at a time, rebuilding not just my life, but myself.